Hi, my name is Jeanette Rehnstrom. I'm a writer, and I'd like to read to you from my book Bebove today. Bebove is a play on the words below and above, and it's more or less where the protagonist finds himself throughout the book. It's also a play on Swedish. I have a quote at the start of the book which reads as follows: Bebove, be att allt det du stulit är ditt nu. Pray thief, pray that everything you've stolen is yours now. At the point where I'm going to read from, the protagonist Leo and his friend, the photographer Luca, have traveled to Algeria on an assignment that Luca has there, and Leo's there to help him. They have just arrived at the small village on a bus. Before we had time to enter the place where we were to rest our weary souls for the evening, we were caught up in a crowd that drifted with agony through the streets. I saw Luca's head bob up here and there in front of me, and tried not to lose sight of him at the same time as I made attempts at hollering at him any time he appeared, trying to find out whether or not he knew what was happening. He was unable to hear me through the din, but every now and again he seemed to be aware of that I was still there, floating with the mob, and so he waved a sign for me to go with the flow, as if I had another choice. I felt hands move over my pockets, but could not ascertain where they came from or to whom they belonged. As I had nothing to covet on me, other than that which was in my bag, which I had secured above my head, I let hands wander as they pleased, whilst watching the bag intently. At points I felt as if I could have lifted my feet off the ground and still would have been carried forward, but I did not feel confident enough to experiment. The crowd dispersed as we arrived at the river. Soon we were all standing in a long line along the flowing waters, staring. Finally I spotted Luca and wound my way to his side, excusing myself for dislodging people slightly with each step. "What's going on?" I was still very uncertain of why we were standing here, what all the commotion had been about. To me, the world was all right. With his hands outstretched, Luca led my eyes to a strange object that sucked itself to the surface of the frivolous water. I strained and strained, but the object remained a mystery. Then all of a sudden an arm seemed to raise itself up slightly, only to be falling back into the boiling mirror. Little by little I noticed more objects that half emerged. The body of a black pig rolled around, perhaps a desperate attempt at swimming or just dead weight dancing to the tune of motion. The difference between life and death was hard to tell from my standpoint. "What's happened?" I screamed at Luca, but as I turned to where he had been standing, I noticed that he was now crouched closer to the water, a little further down the bank, with his camera tightly set to his eye. He let the shutter do his blinking for him, a mechanical dream machine, devouring images, then dropping a curtain of nihilistic dark, gaping again, taking another moment from the world, or into it. Turning back to the catastrophe, I froze as I watched an increasing number of human and animal bodies come careering down it, as if they were late for some appointment with a huge drain at the edge of the horizon. The river seemed to fill with a deadly cargo, and all we were spectators. Not one person did attempt to reach the desolate river passengers. There were no attempts at in the least hampering the progress of these travellers. No, we were all ossified. That is, until this woman started shouting louder than anyone had previously been able to. I'm not sure what she was shouting, but she made a piercing noise which set a few of the men into motion. Soon ropes started to be thrown into the water. They snaked for a moment and then sunk. The throwers were aiming for the bodies, perhaps hoping that if anyone were still alive they would grab a hold, to let us take them away from the course that they were on. The ropes came back as slack as they had been thrown. The river, bubbling, churning, frothing, brown plant materials releasing here and there, all manner of debris, and then, as a trophy of catastrophe, a child's bloated corpse. The women wailed, the children screeched, the men heaved, the ropes splashed, the river snorted and spat. My ears were ringing. Luca was remembering, but unable to breathe. And Bebove can be bought on amazon.co.uk, and I hope you enjoy that. Thank you.